Welcome everyone to another I Love Friday episode. This is Sergio Kia, the revenue cycle guy, on this lovely and hot summer here in Texas, and also sharing the space with Danielle Caruso. She's a director of strategic partnership at NYX Help, innovator, and just lover of life. Danielle, welcome to the platform. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Sergio. This is going to be a fun one. I'm so excited that you invited me to join you.
Yeah, after touching base with you at one of the at Texas State, actually, at HFMA
Mhm.
Texas State, your story just resembled and resonated that we needed to have a further conversation, and I can't wait for us to dive into that. And so, tell us a little bit about you and a short story of what leads you into being an innovator in healthcare.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's been a unique journey to arrive into this position here in healthcare finance. I have had firsthand experience in healthcare. That's the bottom line. And not only domestically, but also international healthcare. And let's see, back in my mid 20s, I had a wild event happen to me. I was not currently in this industry. I was in on track for sports television production,
Oh wow.
living on the East Coast. Yeah, totally different world. And I had just finished my MBA. I was young. I was chipper. I had I could do anything. Anything was possible. And I decided to move to New York. And so I was moving from Florida to New York. And in between making that move, as a young 20 something would do, I decided to go on a backpacking trip in Southeast Asia. And I had my backpack, I had my passport, I was going on my own. I was proud of myself, completed an MBA at a young age, youngest in my cohort. And I just wanted to experience the other side of the world. So I flew into Bangkok and I had a one-way ticket. And I was thinking about spending the whole summer there and then moving to New York probably around October. So this was about May. But as life does often, there was a total shift in gears. There was a complete change of events because I think that I have control over plans and can plan this whole trip out in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, just ready for a whole adventure. And within 4 days of landing in Thailand, I was renting a motorbike, and I wanted to eventually, later on in the trip, motorbike the whole Vietnam coast. So I had a agenda, right? So I wanted to get on this bike and get familiar with how to ride it. And I was meeting some friends out in that I had made immediately in hostels, and we were all going to this temple at within these mountains. And this temple was beautiful. It was in this cave, and we had to drive there. And so we were all assembling in that final destination. Well, we were not moving together because I decided to rent this motorbike. It's essentially a moped. And they took a tuk-tuk there. So we were split up, but same destination. And on my way, at the last leg of getting to this cave, because it was in this mountain, I had been driving through this whole rural region, beautiful hills and farmland. And this road was essentially elevated for drainage. So it was paved. There was no one on it. It was like this quintessential, open road experience. It's like a movie, right? And I was looking up at these mountains and in a total state of bliss and prayer and gratitude that I had finished my MBA, that I was in Thailand, that I had this plan to move to New York. And in that moment, I literally drove off the road and I disconnected from the reality of me being on this bike. And
Wow.
that was the beginning of how my life totally changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And you mentioned that you've been firsthand experience of international and also local healthcare. Tell us a little bit about what you saw and how different they are.
Oh my gosh, great question. So there was a lot of details that we can talk about maybe another time. But to answer this question, the first point of contact that I had with the medical system in Thailand was looking over and seeing an ambulance drive up. And luckily, they had a car and a stretcher, but this was not an ambulance. This was like a strange van. And I had to pay upfront, but I had to actually pay to get into the ambulance. And then they
Wow.
took me. Yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
very different from America. So at that point, I paid them and I broke my back. So that was one of the many injuries. And so I'm in this state of shock. And also, my primal instincts are just on fire. I mean, whether it was who do I need to contact? Do I have water? What's happening to me? But I'm also running on adrenaline. So just a whole unique human experience that I don't think I've ever experienced before or since then. Anyways, I get in this ambulance, this van, and they drive me to the first hospital. And the first hospital is what you might consider this third world hospital in rural Thailand. And I remember going into this hospital on the stretcher and realizing, uh-oh, this isn't the destination. This isn't it. Because I kid you not, no one had scrubs on. I was looking up and there were cobwebs in all of the crevices.
Oh,
There was
yes.
no AC. I know. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And they did not take my vitals. They didn't give me oxygen or, I mean, none of those those immediate emergency SOPs that are really critical. None of that. And so I am in this room with all these people, and mind you, there is a huge language barrier, and everyone's talking a mile a minute in Thai. And I just remember thinking, I have to go to the next hospital. I can't. This isn't where I stay. So everyone was very kind, and luckily there was one person that had a little bit of English or could speak a little bit of English. And I told her, and I said, I need to go to the next hospital. And after really unique exchange, broken English and Thai, she said, okay, do you want to go to a government hospital or do you want to go to a private hospital? And I just remember thinking, well, thank goodness you're giving me these options because
Right.
it's clear that I'm going to go to the next private hospital. And at that point, I had to pay up front again to get into another ambulance.
Wow.
I know.
To transport. Yeah,
Mhm.
those are some things that we don't consider here, or to your point, they're normal SOPs for us. And it must have been an incredible and also a crazy experience, just being being abroad and trying to get that situated and then coming back home. Tell me a little from that experience, and you had made those plans to move to New York. What was the pivotal moment that that shifted either the mindset or your goals completely and to where you are today? What was that pivotal moment?
There's been a lot of pivotal moments. I think I had to have surgery out in Thailand. And in between, once I made it to the second private hospital and had surgery, very successful surgery, my mother actually came out and she helped me, and I had to be there for 3 weeks. I had a lung contusion, so I couldn't fly home. And I'm just going to digress a little bit because there's just been so many different pivotal moments leading up to where I am now. But this one was the most interesting. In that moment, I didn't want to believe that I was injured. I didn't want to believe that my trip was over. I wanted to keep going. I had
Mm,
this almost, I was quite delusional coming off of, adrenaline and morphine and surgery. And I didn't really want my life to change. I was I was just tenacious, the tenacity I had to keep going, to go down to the islands and continue my trip. And I was like trying to convince my mother, like, we're going to go on the train and we're going to go down. And I remember her bringing in the doctor and the doctor saying, you can't do that. And I that's when I realized, oh, this is a big deal. This is real. I'm not going on this trip. I'm going home and I'm very injured.
mm,
And I think the common denominator throughout the last over the past decade of healing, the common denominator is surrender, and that I actually wasn't in control. I this situation that happened to me, this event, this trauma, I literally it didn't happen because someone else was on the road or because my bike was broken or because it was just because I was looking up and in this state of prayer, and I drove off the road, and I couldn't have controlled that. And then coming off of the surgery and realizing the trip's not happening. And then again, going back to Florida where I'm from, realizing after a few weeks, like I'm not moving to New York anymore. There's just constantly moments that I think that I have control over. And I think that controlling by planning and futurizing and just speculating what the path could be and moving towards that path, of course, because that's the vision, but realizing that there are so many points in life that I have to give space to and surrender and be in this state of unknowing or yeah, just not trying to control every moment. And I think with that is like that's one of the biggest pivots in my immediate healing journey.
wow. Thank you for sharing, Danielle. I mean, I think we all go through some of those moments that where we are in the space that we're in right now, either in our career, in towns and things like that, because not because of the immediate plan, but something that was greater, that we needed to do something different. And in my case, healthcare, I would not have chosen healthcare, especially revenue cycle, right? But it was through different opportunities and different challenges that led me to be here. And talking about I love Fridays, it's one of those mindsets that what do we do that keeps us going every single day without any shift in the and I don't want to say energy, but in how we we tackle the day by day, not being it different from Monday, and then the energy just keeps going down, and then it's Friday, and it's
Mhm.
like finally it's Friday, and then we come back on Monday, and it's like it's almost like a dreading. Um, what drives you in having that same level of energy throughout the week? And
Mm.
share with us a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh, such a good question. So I think there's really two pillars that I constantly choose and live by in my life, whether it's with work or play or relationships or just the relationship with myself. And I would say that's agency and frequency. And
Mm,
let me give you, it's a little bit esoteric,
yeah,
right? So let's dive
yeah.
into it.
Let's dive into it.
So with agency, we have the ability to choose the thoughts that we have moment to moment. We have, or I'll speak in first person, I have the ability to choose where I give my attention. I have the ability to choose how I show up in a relationship or manage conflict or speak to myself, the self-talk. And I really believe that that sense of agency and that constant reminder that I have that agency is mine, and I get to choose where I give my attention and also where to take action and where and how to move forward. And so it feels like this it's like self-sovereignty, and it's mine. It's no one can take that from me. And it's responsibility to myself and also all the people that I interact with, whether it's in conversation with you or other people in my immediate community or in this industry. I get to choose and I get to take action, and I get to be mindful about that and conscious of that way. And the other pillar is frequency, and they really go hand in hand. Because if I remember that I have a choice and I can take action and it's all mine, it's up to me, I can also remember that the frequency in which I move forward and the frequency of my thoughts, of literally my body, the harmony of all of my body, my systems moving together, my mind, my heart, my nervous system, that frequency people feel. You feel it. Like people that I interact feel it, like actually, like within a 6 meter or 6 foot diameter. I'm actually spreading my arms out 6 feet because I'm
Mhm.
6 feet tall. So there's a felt frequency and energetic that I can choose within myself and the relationship with myself, and also how I move forward in my own life, and how that and that frequency actually affects everyone around me. And if I can continue to choose that higher frequency, that frequency of love, of care, of compassion, of appreciation, of truth, that is that's the way, the place I want to live my life. And if I can affect other people in that way, and they can meet me there or feel a difference in you know that energy, that they maybe on a Friday it's low energy, and I can bring just simply a higher, more positive, or just a presence, this state, this presence. I really believe that is a big part of how and who I am.
That's amazing. When especially on the frequency part, and we often refer that to in different ways, right? But yeah, that frequency of how I present myself every single day, and tell us about a story that got you to to adopt and to be a frequency practitioner in a way?
Mm,
How do you get there?
wow. Such a good question. So there is this, I would call it a meditation. It's called coherence. And oftentimes, traditional meditation, we are looking to find space between our thoughts and just a still mind. And that is an amazing practice to actually recognize that we are thinking and we are not our thoughts, and to find space between them. So we're not just constantly running all the time in our head. So that's, I would consider more of your traditional meditation. But there is another level. I think it's a bit of a life hack. And the Heart Math Institute, I'm actually certified through Heart Math Institute. They have a ton of research about coherence. And coherence is when we find a state of harmony between our mind, our heart, and our nervous system. And all of this is moving in what's actually measurable, which is your HRV. So HRV is heart rate variability. I'm getting really nerdy on this right now. Okay.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Okay. So heart rate variability, you can actually measure it with an Apple Watch. If there's better tools, like the Heart Math has their own tool to measure it, but it actually, through this meditation, this hack, I'll tell you in a sec, you can follow your HRV at a very consistent curvature, linear line. And when you're in a state of coherence, this stays consistent. It's like this wave. And when you experience stress or fear, it starts becoming jagged, and your body comes out of coherence and is in fight or flight, or another upregulated, like your nervous system becomes upregulated. So the hack is very simple and has given me the foundation to then move through life and have emotional resilience and this higher frequency. And I'd say this plus my mother, because my mother is just an angel and she's just always happy and brings joy and light every day. So I did inherit a little bit. But so coherence, what we do is we close our eyes and we slow our breath down. There's an inhale and actually a longer exhale. And that's the state of the breath. And then we place our attention, obviously with our eyes closed, on the location of our heart. And then instead of just finding space in between our thoughts, we actually feel a heart emotion such as appreciation, gratitude, love, joy. And the concept itself is very simple, but because we're constantly in a state of stress and anxiety and fear, I think much more naturally than heart emotions like appreciation and joy and love and gratitude. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to sit there for 6 to 7 minutes and be overcome by this positive heart emotion. Often we might have to start in a place where there's a memory or it could be a thought attached to this emotion to feel it. It might be like your pet or your family or something you're just really enjoying in life lately. But it's just 7 minutes with focusing your attention on the heart space, slowing the breath down, and feeling appreciation or love. And if you do that every single day or more than one time a day, you start to become more familiar with that state, and you actually build this emotional resilience. So when life comes at you with really hard moments, with conflict at work, with just a bad day, you can actually come back and say, okay, I'm going to drop back into this coherent state. And it's you have agency, right? Like you can actually
Yeah.
hold responsibility
And
to yourself.
yeah, that's amazing, Danielle. And we often measure ourselves with other people, what they're doing, right?
Hmm.
And I think one of the most beautiful things is to find what is it that can align with what I do. An example for me is a really busy day trying to come up with a solution or anything like that. And I've done this very often and many times where I'm just mentally stuck.
Hmm.
And we get to that point where we're like, I can't do anymore. Just be that agent of saying, I'm gonna disconnect. I have to disconnect. And I run to my son's room very often. If he's not there, I'm just on my own. And and just display a big, large bulk of Legos and start building out of just imagination, whatever comes to mind. What is that I need to put together? Because we live in a world that everything is almost cookie cutter, that we
Hmm.
have explanations for everything, and we get so rutted in our minds that when we have to take care of ourselves, we almost expect for validation that, oh yeah, you should go and do that, because we live in that environment. And I often find answers doing it where I'm an hour in already building, doing something, coming up, and then boom, the answer, it just hits right there. So,
Hmm.
and I just want to say with anyone that's listening, that they don't have to be the mechanisms or things that Danielle expressed. It's something that resonates with your life, something that you enjoy doing in your life that you haven't done in a long time. And oftentimes it has to do with something that you used to do when you were a child. Um, Being a childlike and being as a child, they're two different things, entirely. And it's because children are curious by just naturally, they're naturally curious, and we lose that curiosity because of our environment. So we need to go back to being curious, because that drives us back to that place where we can find joy, where we can find peace, where we can find innovation, and just to move forward.
Hmm.
um, Tell me a little bit, Danielle, how mentorship and how in both ways, being mentored and being a mentee, has helped you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'll start with mentorship. I love being the least smart person in the room ever since I was a
Amazing.
young professional. So I have actually sought out many mentors, and I'm a sponge for wisdom and knowledge and also lived experience. So when I find someone that I really admire, or that there is values alignment, or I aspire to what he or she, where they might be in their life, I will just sit with them and ask questions and be present with whatever he or she might be sharing. And it's so it's so incredible the way that firsthand knowledge shapes my decision making, and also empowers me. Like, okay, you did this path and mine might not be the same, but I could take these little golden nuggets and apply them to my life. Or the generosity of networks and my mentors that have put me in touch with people that are more specialized and can offer more knowledge or wisdom in different aspects of my career or life. I just constantly move towards wisdom. I That's a big part of who I am in general. And as it relates to mentorship to others, I when people come to me looking for that sort of support. I just really practice presence and constantly discern, are you looking for my experience and what I've gone through, and do you want to know more about that, or do you want me to help you to put myself in your shoes and understand your circumstances and give you some perspective that I can share relative to your life. So I think that it's really, for me, important to discern between those two, because we can so frequently just project our own experiences on others.
Yes.
You should do
Yeah.
this. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Man, I love that what you said. It's not about me. It's
Mm-hmm.
about you. It's
Mm-hmm.
entirely about you. And when we're mentoring others, it's about asking the questions to meet them where they are,
Mm-hmm.
and having that proximity, how what and proximity um, to being mentored, and also proximity to those that they can reach through you, because essentially you're opening yourself and your network,
Mm-hmm.
if that's a possibility. Tell me an experience that you've had with someone that you mentored, that that changed their life, that it was a pivotal moment in their life.
Wow. I'd say one of my close friends. It wasn't this formal mentorship arrangement by any means, but I'm much older than her. And there was this, what I witnessed, this constant sort of hamster wheel of the thoughts and the thought pattern and this story she had been telling herself, and she was just ruminating and not changing this pattern. And she asked me, like, what should I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And I think it's really important to recognize the story we tell ourselves. And do we want to keep living out that narrative?
Mm,
Or do we want to choose that, tap into that agency and say, I don't want to live this story anymore that I have in my mind about myself or my life? And I reminded her that, like, she can change this. She can take action and shift this frequency of where she's at in life and find that power within herself, because she can literally create the life that she wants, step by step, little by little. And she went off to Costa Rica. She was battling a really, really tragic loss of a best friend, so it was kind of like all these things kept happening to her. She went off to Costa Rica, grounded herself with the ocean, came back, decided, I'm not doing this consulting work anymore. I'm going to go to school for this new career path, and I choose it. I'm doing it. And I get chills right now thinking about it, because I was so happy. Like, she did something. She changed it. She got out of the loop, shifted her story.
that's amazing. That's great. And Danielle, I want to wrap up our episode, and I want to say thank you for joining us. A word of advice to an early career, or someone who's considering or in the gray area where they are right now, what would be one sentence of advice that you would give them?
Mhm. Oh, wow. I would say, don't try and map out your whole future. Just take the step, the immediate step, take action, and be curious, like you said. Be curious about what the possibilities are if I just take this action, and not trying to control the outcome, but being curious um, and in this whole, a career, we can be so serious and we can want this stack of, the LinkedIn resume stack of success, right?
Wow. Yes.
But actually, if we just look at this a little bit more playful, like you mentioned, and just realize, like, we get to express ourselves in different ways in our lives, in different pockets of our lives, and let's be curious about what this first step will lead to, or the second step, and be present in that experience, and be humble, and be confident in yourself.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you for those words of advice there. I hope someone today finds value, and I hope someone today gets to connect with Danielle Caruso. I'm very certain that Danielle would want to connect with you and share in more detail about that experience that she shared, just a very glimpse of it today. And she's open to sharing that experience with you. And I want to say thank you for connecting today. Happy Friday, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you, Sergio. You are an amazing person and community member, and I'm just so grateful to be invited to spend time with you.
Amazing. Thank you. Bye bye, Danielle.